What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar approaching tomorrow, what the news is saying about Tesla, and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I break into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. We sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit $500 into the account. You are guaranteed 20 free stocks. You deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening with Tesla. As you guys know, Tesla has a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure alongside a confluence of other indicators from the uptrend we have, not to mention the fact that Tesla has some bullish signals that do suggest that Tesla could eventually make its way up to about 207 to 212. But the thing is, even if Tesla can eventually get there, there's no sign of it actually breaking above 205 yet to really get there. And we have to wait and see if Tesla gets that break from this potential flag that's forming. We have to try to break this downtrend that's starting to form as well. So, yes, it is possible Tesla pushes up higher, but we first have to see Tesla break to get there. And as of right now, it's been downtrending just a bit. Ever since it hit 205, it's been coming down slowly. So, there is a good chance it may continue to follow this trend, but we have to watch and see if we could get this breakout. And in order for us to get that breakout, I believe we need some kind of catalyst. We either need Nvidia to help the market pump, which could help Tesla, or we need some good news to come out for Tesla, something to be announced to help this thing run. I think there's a very good chance it might end up happening. So we'll have to wait and see, but I want to break down more details about this, talk about how this relates to other tickers and such. But let's first talk about the market. Let's talk about some news involving the markets and then other things involving Tesla. So today is Monday, February 19th, and today's President's Day, so the stock market has been closed. That's the reason why I kind of like took a break. I wasn't really around throughout the majority of the day until like right now. And for the markets, they're closed in commemoration of this day, and they're going to be reopening again tomorrow, which is going to be Tuesday. Now, the market has basically at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the 3-month and the 6-month bill auctions coming out. That's going to be quite important. Might cause somewhat of a move. Besides that, everything else is very minor. Then going into Wednesday, I just want to remind you everything is quite minor except we have a couple of Fed speakers, and then at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the FOMC minutes coming out. Remember, this is not the FOMC meeting. It is simply just a report with a recap of the original FOMC meeting, giving us more details about what the other Fed officials want to do. So that's going to be a big piece of data coming out for Wednesday. Besides that, approaching the FOMC minutes, everything else is very minor. Now, after the minutes come out and after the market closes on Wednesday, okay, we have Nvidia's earnings as well, and that's going to be very, very important. Nvidia is going to either carry the market up higher and help Tesla pump, or it's going to cause the whole market to sink. So be very careful. Nvidia is a multi-trillion-dollar company. It's huge, and it could cause big, big, big moves. So make sure you're prepared for this. Make sure you are ready. As far as earnings go for the week, for tomorrow, we have Walmart, the Home Depot, and just a couple of others announcing their earnings for the morning. And then going into Wednesday, we just have a few others like Wix and Wingstop and just a few like that before the market opens. Then we have Nvidia and Etsy after the market closes. Nvidia is going to be a monster. It's going to affect the market for the rest of the week, in my opinion. Then we have Moderna and just a few others like Fiverr for Thursday. And then for Friday, we have like Warner Bros. And just a few others. So most earnings are quite minor, except for just a couple of retail out there like Walmart, which are pretty big. And then we have Nvidia, which is going to be massive. For the market right now, there's currently a 91.5% chance the Fed is going to keep rates the same, and 8.5% chance the Fed is going to cut for the next FOMC meeting. That's how the market's kind of viewing everything, especially because of the last inflationary reports, which have been a bit hotter than expected. So we'll have to see what this causes, especially when the minutes come out. We'll see what this basically causes to happen to the current forecasts, if there are any changes. Now, for other pieces of data, I just want to mention the market is still extremely greedy. We're getting very close to greed right now as the market's coming down just a little bit, and we'll see how this ends up holding up. But the market's a little bit less extremely greedy than where it was before, so we'll just see how that ends up holding. We're still at extreme greed, just not as high as what we saw last week, and we'll see how well this holds. Everything else is quite extreme right now. The puts and call options positioning is starting to go up just a little bit. We're starting to see a little bit more shorting going on, just slightly more, which does tend to cause some changes, at least to volatility. And looking at the VIX right now, it's still above the 50-day moving average. We'll have to see how well it ends up holding. I'll be watching for that as well. Now, as far as Tesla goes, in terms of news, I didn't really see much news that came out. Everything else was just quite minor. But I just want to call out that there's been a lot of talk about how the Tesla Cybertrucks are just getting rust and this and that. I'm just seeing a lot of news saying that they're rusty. They're all these other things, and with that happening, they're getting a lot of criticism. The media has been criticizing Tesla for having these EVs that just rust in the rain. It's this and that, but there's been a Cybertruck engineer that came out and addressed a lot of these claims about what's actually going on. So he had a very, very different view. This is the engineer Wes Morrill. He addressed the claims that Tesla's pickup is basically rusting in the rain, and he clarified that the specks of rust are the size of a pinhead and not part of the stainless steel body. He basically mentioned that it's very important to note this. He mentioned that the Cybertrucks develop orange rust marks in the rain, and that the required vehicle to be buffed out is something very important. So that's what I'm sorry, Tesla didn't say that, but this is what the Cybertruck Owners Club forum basically wrote. But Morrill, that's his name, Morrill, he said that it actually wasn't the metal itself that was rusting. He's saying that actually what happened was it was something a little bit different because the very interesting stainless steel that they're using is reactive and free of iron that sits on it. That's basically going to be rusting, and the surface contamination only can be cleaned off easily. So he's basically saying that the body itself is not what's rusting. It's just the outer layer that's getting a little bit of rust on it, and that could easily be cleaned off. And on top of that, he mentioned that in a lot of the different videos you're seeing, a lot of the tiny orange specks were likely just the result of rust dust or particles that landed on the surface from the truck from other places. So there's a lot of talk about that as well. So what do I think about this? Honestly, guys, I can't say for sure since I never actually saw the product in real life where it had the quote unquote rust. But what the engineer is saying could be true. It could just have come from somewhere else, or it could just be a very, very minor outer layer. It's not like the main frame that's getting it deep into like the stainless steel. It could just be the outer layer that has the little rust particles that could end up getting them. So that could be very, very minor, and this could easily be cleaned off according to him. If that's the case, should be okay for Tesla, but we will see if there are any new developments from different media sources and such. Now, volume was at about 111 million, so that's very close to what average is. And on top of this, we're going to be looking to see what happens with the short volume. This actually went up just slightly. On top of that, Daiwa Capital is giving Tesla a neutral rating, and the price-price ratio is going up because Tesla's gaining some strength. Tuesdays tend to be green about 52% of the time, and then we'll see what happens as time goes on, especially because of hourly seasonality. At 2 and 3 p.m., is there more volatility or not? But now let's talk about what's going on with this. So, as far as Tesla goes, right now, we're going to be watching to see if this flag ends up panning out. Now, we have a potential bull flag that could be forming, but we need to see Tesla break out first. For support, make sure you watch 198. If we lose this, our next target is going to be all the way down to this 195 area. If that fails us, we're going to be coming all the way down past this imbalance at 192, followed by 190. Resistance watch 200. If that breaks, 202, 205, and then 207 are coming next. In my opinion, it depends on the news that comes out in the morning, but as of right now, we're on a slight downtrend. It could downtrend a little bit longer with SPY and get closer to 195 before we bounce. And there's a very good chance that could happen since this is where the breakout area was from this cup. So we might see Tesla come down just a little bit more, respect this downtrend, then bounce later on. And we'll have to see if some kind of news causes the bounce. Is it Nvda? Otherwise, I could see it downtrending just a bit longer. So I just wanted to warn you guys about that. It might just do this for an extended period of time. Now for SPY, I'm seeing something very similar. SPY basically has this very, very nice double top like formation at this 503 area. But the question is SPY forming a cup and handle? Is this like a really, really nice cup? And are we about to form a nice handle right here where we kind of retrace a little bit? Excuse me, we reached 498. If we lose this, I'm going to be looking at the 496s down here and see if we get a bounce around here to push back up. Or do we end up failing and we just continue to downtrend? Now, in my opinion, I think there's a very good chance that SPY will retest this resistance up here and just continue to downtrend temporarily and get very close to 496. But then we'll see if this thing could bounce thanks to Nvidia or not to form a cup and handle. We'll see if that ends up being the case. Is this going to form like a cup and then a handle and break out and break to new all-time highs? Or is this about to downtrend? Could this be the start of a new downtrend with a double top rejection? We had our first top, a second top, and then if it does continue with the full measured move, we could be back into the 480s in no time. So it's very important to watch this and see how it does. I do see a potential downtrend forming, so it might actually rebound a bit, then continue for some time. So be prepared for that just to be safe, guys, before this thing tries to bounce. And I think that's very likely for SPY. Onto the QQQ is the same thing. So we established a lower high relative to 440. And we're going to be watching basically right here the support at 429. If that fails, let's watch 427, 425, then 423.8. For resistance, make sure you watch 432. If it breaks this, 434 to 435 is next. So with this downtrend being established right over here, we'll have to see how well this could hold. And this is showing some weakness, so please be very careful. In my opinion, I think there's a very good chance that the QQQ could downtrend a little bit more. Look for a little bounce in the morning. It could retest 432 or so, and it might retrace a little bit more. It actually is showing some weakness, so we might see it drop a little bit more. Part of why I'm saying that is because when you look at the QQQ on the 4-hour time frame, we are looking like we just lost a 50 EMA. We're looking a little bit weaker here, so I could see it retracing towards 425. SPY looks the same thing on the daily and also on the 4-hour time frame. I see the 496 is coming. We'll see if we bounce there or not, but I do see a little bit more selling coming. And then for a few others out there, now let's just go over like Nvda. Where Nvidia is doesn't really matter as much. What matters more is going to be its earnings, but we are kind of range bound. We're getting bought back up in the 725s. We're getting resistance at the 740s. We'll see how it basically does right here. But I do think there's a possibility it tries to rebound a bit, retest this imbalance, and it might reject at 734 basically and come back down. We look a little bit bearish after what happened on Friday with this downtrend being established. So we'll see how 725 holds. If we lose that, it could start to sink towards 720 essentially. 719 to 720, then 715 below that. I think there's a risk of it coming down lower, but we'll just have to wait and see if that ends up being the case. So that being said, guys, I mean, with this nice channel that formed, we'll see if this ends up breaking down. And it could be forming like a triple top as well before it just sinks a little bit, approaching its earnings. So I am leaning a bit more in favor of that. But just to be safe, watch 725 to see how it holds. If we lose that, we could be sinking towards 715. With Apple's looking kind of flat right now. Apple's trying to base at this 182 area. 181.36 to 182 is where it's trying to base. We'll see if it could hold around this range. But if it loses 181.36, we could get very close to 178 to 180, that range all the way down there. We bounced off that area 3 times in the past year, so we'll see if we could hold those supports. So watch 181.36 to 181, 180, then 178. Watch resistance at 182.5, 183.5, and 184.25. They're 3 very, very tight levels. I know it's kind of annoying I'm calling out such tight levels, but that's because this has been very tight. If you look at how well it's been respecting them, it's very, very tight right now on Aapl. Not much volatility. So it looks kind of bearish with this downtrend. It might rebound towards 183.5, then reject. And watch and see how well we hold 181.36. If it starts losing that, a bigger drop is coming. The trend is still kind of bearish, but I do believe it's getting closer to basing the closer it gets to 180. So once again, the trend on SPY looks kind of bearish, could drop a little bit more temporarily, but then we'll see what happens after Nvidia's earnings and the FOMC minutes. Same thing with Tesla. We're losing some momentum here. It could drop a little bit more towards our 20 EMA, so watch that carefully. Rivian might test 16.06. We'll see how well this holds. Could actually test this and rebound a little bit. So watch for a little retracement and then a bounce on Rivian. For SoFi, we're looking a little bearish. We'll see how well it holds 8.35. If we lose this, we're going to be coming down towards 8.17. But it is starting to downtrend on the 4 hours, so there's going to be a risk of a little bit more selling. So be a little bit careful right over there. For ARM or ARM, this is looking a little bearish because it's barely holding its EMA right now. Watch 126.93. If we lose this, we're going to be sinking all the way down towards this wick at 120. If we hold this, we could rebound. It's showing a little weakness. It could drop a little bit. I could see it getting closer to 120 if we're trying to bounce, so watch that carefully. For Super Micro, we look kind of bearish. We got a very bearish day on Friday, but we're going to be watching 800 and then 780 a share and then 750. Those are three key supports to be watching for. We'll see where it bases. As of right now, we had a very, very big red day on Friday, so it wouldn't make sense to call the bounce yet. I do think it's going to bounce eventually, but we're not ready yet. We have to wait and see where it bases. So just be patient and wait and see how it does. For Palantir, we're kind of bearish looking. If we lose this support right over here at this 23.8 area, we're going to be retracing to about 23 flat. So watch that. It is kind of downtrending a bit, could drop a bit more. The IWM Russell 2000, I'm going to be looking to see if this thing could hold 200. If we lose 200, 198 is going to be coming next. It is looking kind of bearish right now, so I could see 198. So be careful on the IWM. For Aapl, I already went over Aapl. It is trying to base in the low 180s, but it's still looking kind of bearish on the trend, so I just want to call that out. Microsoft looks kind of bearish to me. It depends on if it could hold 402. If we lose 402, we're going to be sinking to 395. We have a head and shoulders like structure, so it might sink back down towards those levels. For AMD, AMD is looking a little bearish, but we have to see if it holds 173.58. If we lose that, we're going to be sinking towards 170. If we hold this, it's going to rebound, but it looks like it's barely holding that, so be careful. It's showing some weakness. For Netflix, I know a lot of people are into Netflix. We look a little weak right here. Watch 579.6 down. If we lose that, we're going to be sinking towards 570. Looks a little bit weak right now, so I do see a potential drop coming. So be careful. For what else is there? The VIX, we'll be watching to see where it reacts. It's kind of stuck right now in a range. It's kind of stuck between. Sorry, let me actually fix this. Give me 1 second, guys. The VIX is actually currently at this different level, so I'll have to see how well it could hold its support. It's basically trying to hold above 13.96, and we have resistance at 14.24. Overall, we'll see if this thing can try to break 14.22 and continue to push above that. If it holds above this, this could be a little weak for the markets, so we'll just have to wait and see. The dollar is kind of indecisive, but it's starting to curl a little bit. If it breaks 104.35, that would be bearish for the markets. It's still holding up decently. Coinbase got a nice close, but the only issue is it actually gapped up so hard. Now it's cooling off a bit. Let's see if it holds 180. If it holds 180, it's going to rebound towards 184. If it loses 180, it's going to be sinking, in my opinion, towards 170, the 172.8 area, followed by 168. I do think it's going to drop a little bit more, but we'll have to see how well it holds. For Google, on the 4-hour time frame, Google's looking a little bearish. I could see this thing basically hitting 140. If that fails, then 138 is next. For Amazon, this is looking a little weaker to me. It's below the 50 EMA. If it fails to hold 168, it's going to be coming all the way down towards 165.75. If it holds 168, it's going to rebound to 170. So watch 168. I have a feeling it's going to break, so be careful. It looks kind of weak. And for Meta, the chart's looking a little weak. It's barely holding 470. If we lose 470, watch 465, followed by 462. I think it could retrace a little bit, showing some weakness right now, so be careful on the charts. But with that being said, guys, thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. So as far as the market goes, I'm seeing some weakness. The market might show some weakness approaching Nvidia's earnings, but don't turn into a big bear. I'm not a big bear, guys. I'm just reading what the chart's showing us. I still am open to the possibility of SPY, the QQQ, and Tesla getting a big bounce on Wednesday after Nvidia's earnings comes out. Tesla could also move on its own if some big news comes out, so we'll just have to wait and see. As of right now, there's a downtrend right here Tesla's been respecting in this flag, so it could downtrend a little bit longer before we get some kind of break if it does happen. So always be open to that possibility. That's the most likely move we're seeing so far based off technicals. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning, right before the market opens. So get ready, guys. Do what you have to do, and peace out.